Why aren't I part of a whale? Maybe. We'll find out. But anyway, here we go. This is forthcoming announced by David Builes and Caspar Hare called Why Aren't I Part of a Whale? So, and as always, we're going to find out what it is. My first time reading it. Feel free to comment along the way. I try not to read the abstracts because I don't care. And at the end, we get to rate it and tell me how you feel about this one. One of the categories is Bayesian reasoning. Is Ivan still in the house? Well, we'll find out. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So we're doing a lot of formal stuff, meteorology. Yeah, this is going to be meteorology in mind. This is going to be, I expect everyone to fall asleep. But we'll find out. All right. 3 views, one squarely in the realm of metaphysics, one in the intersection of metaphysics and physics, and one in the intersection of metaphysics and the philosophy of mind. Unrestricted composition. For every collection of material entities, there is a material entity they compose. Yeah, so like, this is just like you say, look, this is a pencil, this is a US quarter. You can take them and be like, you can take them, the pencil and the quarter. And then you've got like, the pencil, the quarter, and then the grouping of the pencil and quarter. That's all that's happening. Like we're getting into meteorology. Can you group things together? So on this view, material entities are many and various. Yeah, because like there's me, and then me and the chair. Me, the chair in the room. Me, the chair in the room, and like, the hallway. You can just keep doing this. On this view, material entities are many and various. Sometimes we have names and kind terms for them, sometimes we don't. So, for example, the girders, trusses, cords, lasses, and other paraphernalia at 5 Avenue Anatole, Paris compose a material entity for which we have a single name and kind term. It's the Eiffel Tower, and it's a tower. Barack Obama's sunglasses and the planet Jupiter compose a material entity for which we have neither name nor kind term. Yeah, so like some things like, streamer setup that composes all the crap right in front of me, and maybe some of the other stuff in the room, but like you can do that. But then other things like, the street out there and then this lamp aren't a specific kind on their own. All right, so material people have finitely many material parts. All right, so we people are material entities composed of finitely many material meteorological simples, material entities with no proper parts. I don't know if that's the case. I've read stuff where you can divide things up differently according to different ways. So you could talk about all like the atoms in my body, but then you could then divide it up by like groups of atoms, and that would get to be like near infinite because you can always keep redividing and recombining stuff. Cinesemiac says, what you just said about those sets reminds me of something I saw in Rick and Morty, where they have a pizza, a telephone, and a chair, and a waiter. They swap them out in each scene, changing the role of the thing. It's hilarious. Yeah, this is a, this is one of these like philosophy games where people do this sort of thing a lot, where they start, swapping things out, and then you ask like, well, is that still an object, or still like, do we understand what's going on? But like, this is like an old thing in philosophy where you just start dividing stuff up differently. But yeah. Okay, so on this view, it may be that we have cells as proper parts. It may be that the cells have atoms as proper parts. Maybe the atoms have protons, electrons, neutrons as proper parts. Maybe that the sequence of ever smaller things extends ever so far, but it ends with a collection of finitely many proper partless things. Okay, so that means they're just dividing everything down into little physical bits. That's what they're doing. They're not doing subsets and reorganizing them. The intrinsic non-modal basis of consciousness. Necessarily, whether or not a material entity is conscious is determined by its intrinsic non-modal properties. Okay. On this view, to find out whether a thing is conscious, we do not need to look beyond its peripheries and see how it relates to other things. Nor do we need to look at how it would or could have behave if things were different. What matters is the way it is actually configured at the moment and over time. Yeah, so they're just saying you look at the person to see if they're conscious. You don't look at like the surroundings. Let's call the conjunction of these 3 views the lopsided conscious plenitude, henceforth LCP. And remember, I already took an issue with this finite thing right here. I said, look, they've already said there's no subdivisions that matter. So it's just they're only dividing down in one way. I already said like you don't do that. So the material entities I'm not arguing with. I argue with this that finitely many material parts. How you break things down matters, and they're doing it only in one way. I'm not sure that's the legit way. So now they're coming up to this lopsided conscious plenitude that basically, well, this is going to be their whole thing. Various arguments have been given for and against each of these three views. We will not address these arguments directly here, beyond noting that they have one feature in common. They do not aspire to be more persuasive to some people than to others. Why not? I don't understand that at all. No matter whether you are tall or short, old or young, from Holland or Denmark, they are supposed to move you just the same. In this paper, we will present and assess an argument against or for, depending on who you are. You're believing in LCP that does not have this feature. Its conclusion is that how confident you should be in LCP depends on how massive you are. That's weird. Okay. This argument, if successful, would give us a partial answer to a perennially important question about metaphysics. What, if any, sorts of observations can be evidence for believing in metaphysical theories? According to the argument, sometimes irreducibly de se observations, roughly observations that I am one thing rather than another, can be powerful evidence. Okay, yeah, so de se just means of the self. So it's like if you're saying, I know I exist, therefore something, well, yeah. All right, so I have no idea what this is. The lopsided conscious plenitude is that so the conscious is determined by its intrinsic non-modal properties. That means like the stuff. That's just the matter. But clearly they're doing something there. That if they're saying it's only the matter, whatever it is that's making you conscious, then this is their entire setup right here. This is all the things that this is all their strategy. They've already done this. All the work is there. So we'll see. All right. Is it though? I don't know. But like the question is in the definition, Ivan. That's the question. Why would they have said these slightly weird things unless this is the whole ball game? They've set it up this way so that they've given themselves the strategic definitions that they need to get the conclusion that they want. But like it's just very obvious when you've read a million different definitions of this stuff that, like, you know, just rejiggering all these things is like, you see it coming. Like, is it? Yeah. And that's the right question. Is that all that, like, there is to it? Your confidence in LCP should depend on how massive you are. Well, I think this. Well, first notice that if LCP is true, then there are a very large, though finite number of conscious entities in the vicinity of any given person. Take a particular cell in the skin of Barack Obama, call it Skino. By unrestricted composition, there is an entity composed of all other cells that compose Barack Obama, but not Skino. So you've got one cell and then everything else in Barack. Call that entity Barack minus. Now consider a different possible situation in which Skino does not exist, but Barack is otherwise just as healthy as he actually is. Barack in this other possible situation is conscious, but Barack in this other possible situation has the very same intrinsic non-modal properties that Barack minus actually has. So by the intrinsic non-modal basis of consciousness, Barack minus must actually be conscious. And what goes for Skino goes for pretty much every small thing in Barack Obama's body. So there are many, though finitely many, material people have finitely many parts, conscious entities in his vicinity. Hence the lopsided conscious plenitude. I mean, this is like screaming out Sorites paradox, but whatever. Ivan Neo says, I was talking about neural nets earlier, the idea that they are abstraction engines. That is to say, X recognizes Y. We are saying that many variations of Y would also be recognized by the network. So the non-modal claim seems problematic. Yeah, see, this is the thing. They are trying to do this thing where they can take one piece out and then say everything else is fine. And then you could take out any other piece and say it was fine. This is a strategy. You remember the argument about the that I wrote my paper on, where they were taking out one premise out of the things. They're saying any given premise looks good. This is usually the strategy that these people are making. And so, but like then they want to have the whole on, you know, sort of remain the same. So you can any one thing you take out, but the whole remains the same. Very common argumentative strategy for philosophers. Unreal says, see, this is where my pragmatist nominalism comes out. Is the category useful to resolve inquiry caused by an actual doubt or not? Probably not. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah. Isn't that why waiting and training neural nets are the most important part? Well, it's like, yeah, you've got to get those abstractions in. Now, they're saying nothing there is what's making the consciousness. It's at any given neural net, you can break one little connection and the thing will still be mostly functional. So it's like, that's how it goes. And so since they're now saying, well, the size of the neural net matters to how many different ways it could be conscious, because if you could take one piece out, the rest of it's still conscious, then there's just the size of it matters to how many different ways it could be conscious. Yeah, can it lift? That's the real question. Okay. So again, that's why this whole thing is being very, very cutesy with their argumentation. Again, I don't buy that you can break everything down so simply, but this is their strategy. Okay. Second, notice that if LCP is true, then there are vastly more conscious entities in the vicinity of larger people than in the vicinity of smaller people. Yeah, every cell that you can remove counts as a different person. Yeah, this one's already an innie. Yeah. Consider two people who are very close to being equivalently massive. One composed of n mereological simples and the other composed of n plus 1 mereological simples. Yeah, one person has one more cell in them. By the wonders of combinatorics, it follows that one has 2 to the n minus 1 parts and the other has 2 to the n plus 1 minus 1 parts. In virtue of being composed of one more mereological simple, that one has just over twice as many parts as the other. And when the difference is 2 mereological simples, the one has just over 4 times as many parts. When the difference is 3 mereological simples, the one has just over 8 times as many parts, etc. DCI says, no, but each pathway will generate a random result until you fix the weighting for the path that is trained right answer neural nets start completely randomized. Yeah, but they're saying, look, if you had trained the thing already and then you break one connection, it's still mostly trained. I mean, that's kind of if you're treating neural nets as conscious here. So, but yeah, but this is the concession they're already making. Clearly the training is what matters in neural nets, and consciousness is not just dependent on the stuff underneath. They're using the wrong terms here in order to describe consciousness, but then they're making a cute argument for this one. To say, look, the number of ways you could be conscious is infinitely many, or not infinitely, countably huge, because you could have different cells just slightly different. Yeah. Okay, but again, it's not the simples that are giving you consciousness. Never was. That's not what it is. It's not the single link in the neural net that makes the neural net work. It's not the single cell in your brain that makes you conscious. It's a category mistake here. Okay, so continuing, which brings us to the two authors of the paper. One of us, henceforth heavy, is around 20 kilos more massive than the other, henceforth light. With approximately 10 to the 26 atoms per kilo of human flesh, that means there are approximately 10 to the 22 times 10 to the 27 more atoms in Heavy's body than in Light's. And that means Heavy has at least 2 to the power of 2 times 10 to the 27 times as many parts as Light. We say at least because scientific atoms are not mereological simples, so the true ratio will be much greater. This is, to speak mildly, a very large number. The first obstacle to our writing it out in decimal notation is that the analysis character limit but the size of the Milky Way galaxy. And now they're just being cutesy. Heavy has at least 2 to the power of 2 times 10 to the 27 times as many parts as Light, but not all parts of Heavy and Light are conscious. How many times as many conscious parts does Heavy have? We don't know. It depends on what proportion of Heavy and Light's parts have the intrinsic non-modal feature that suffices for consciousness. But it is safe to say that it is another unfathomably enormous number, hence the lopsided conscious plenitude. Yeah, so let's just restrict it to the brain. That's all it is. So you could change one atom in your brain and you're still going to be conscious. That's the thing. Yeah, I know. This is what I was saying. We're going to when I was saying mereology and metaphysics, I was I knew where we're going, but I just want people to understand what's going on sometimes. You understand, once you realize that they're talking about atoms in consciousness, when under almost no theory is it the atoms themselves that are making you conscious, Like it's in the in these neural net theories, it's the training that's doing the work. In humans, maybe it's the training, maybe it's something else, but it ain't just the atom being there. Just not. Okay, so now here's a question. Suppose that we two authors of this paper reflect on the established philosophical arguments for and against LCP, and upon first-person indexical beliefs that the two of us share, beliefs that we would express like this. All right, so quote, I exist, quote, I am conscious, quote, I am on planet Earth, quote, I am either in the vicinity of heavy or in the vicinity of light. Oh, hey, Vipers, what's up? That's what Ivan could call a sex cult, the Milky Way. Oh, dear God, Vipers. Unreal says, I'm not against the topic, but this is just public self-stimulation. Yes, I mean, and I'm very impressed with this Builes guy, the author. He seems really good at, like, writing these sorts of papers. He's very impressive. He's got a huge number of publications now, and it's just, like, and a lot of people downloading his papers. It's great. Like, he's very impressive a writer. Like, he's a young guy, you can see. He's a young philosophy professor. Very impressive writing thing. I don't really like his work, but, like, this is what you get published. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine changing atoms, what they are adding, but what are they deleting could have massive effect on you. Yeah, but they're saying go atom by atom. So, like, one atom usually is not going to change much for your thing. He's a great bullshitter. Yeah. Well, he's really skilled at writing analytic philosophy. So, now the question is, does he does sometimes he have a point? Maybe. I don't know. The stuff I've read of his has been sort of like this, where I don't really buy it. It's just like a very clever argument that doesn't say much. So it's like, yeah. Okay. So, but let's get through it. Let's see what else there is. I mean, like I said, we're on page 4 now, and there's a bunch of these, like, sort of picture things that take up space. So we only have to get to page 8. We're more than halfway through already, I think. All right, suppose that after reflecting on all and only these things the two of us should have a certain level of confidence in LCP. Well and good. See, I have no confidence in LCP. It's ridiculous, but it's okay. Then suppose that we begin to reflect on first-person indexical beliefs that we do not share. For example, Heavy reflects on a belief that Heavy would express like this. I am in the vicinity of Heavy, because you are in the vicinity of yourself. And Light reflects on a belief that Light would express like this. I'm in the vicinity of Light. How should each of us amend our confidence in LCP in light of these further unshared indexical beliefs? As a warm-up towards answering this question, let's consider another question that doesn't involve any metaphysics. We will put it in first-personal terms. Suppose I find myself in prison. I recognize it as the West prison or the East prison, but I can't tell which it is. I wonder what's going on. I have two hypotheses. According to the first hypothesis, lopsided distribution of prisoners, there are 99 times as many prisoners in the West prison as in the East prison. Viper says, should we rename this to Are You Smarter Than a Philosophy PhD? Yeah, I mean, again, argumentation level is high. Is anything getting said here? I just don't think so. Just think of your followers proclaiming, I'm in the vicinity of wet. Yeah, exactly. According to the second hypothesis, even distribution of prisoners, there are the same number of prisoners in each prison. After very carefully poring over all available evidence, I am rightly half confident in each hypothesis, and I rightly conclude that I have no further evidence about which prison I might be in if the hypothesis is true. The warm-up question is this. Suppose that then I learn which prison I'm in. What should that do to my confidence in the lopsided distribution of prisoners and the even distribution of prisoners? This question seems to have a straightforward answer. Here are two plausible principles of epistemic rationality. They say distribution principle. For any properties f and g, I am certain that I have f, and I am certain that x% of things that have f have g, and I have no further evidence concerning whether I have g, then I should be that percent confident that you have the other thing. Conditionalization for any propositions a and c. If my confidence in a conditional on c ought to be x, then upon learning c and nothing more, my confidence in a ought to be x. Okay, by the they say distribution principle, if I don't know which prison I'm in, and I learn that lopsided distribution prisoners is true, then I should be 99% confidence that I am in the West prison. Yeah, so if you know that the chances of being in this prison goes 99% to 1%, then you're probably in the 99% because that's how, dice rolls go. And if I don't know which prison I'm in and I learn that even distribution is true, then you should take the 50-50 confidence level. So by conditionalization, if I don't know which prison I am in, and I don't know how many prisoners are in each prison, my level of confidence in the 4 open possibilities should be West and East. So in the lopsided, it's 99 out of 200, or in East, it's 1 out of 200, or even is just even. It's like, that's fine. And did this been out of 100, not 200? It doesn't matter. So by conditionalization, again, if I am in the West prison, then I should be 99 out of 149 confident in the lopsided distribution of prisoners, and 50 out of 149 confident in the even distribution of prisoners. If I am in the East prison, then I should be 1 out of 51 confident in the lopsided distribution of prisoners, and 50 out of 51 confident in the even distribution of prisoners. Okay, so they're conditionalizing. That's fine. They're doing like a little Bayesian thing here. In colloquial terms, learning that I'm in the West prison should make me pretty confident that most prisoners are there, while learning that I'm in the East prison should make me almost certain that the prisoners are evenly distributed. Yeah, because I mean, basically, if you're knocking out everything else you might know, then this is the thing. What's interesting, I remember one of the papers I've read of David Builes, he did the exact same thing with time. He was saying, look, if you know that like this amount of time has passed, you should be more confident that you're in one of the 2 rooms. Same pattern, and I disagreed with it then too. So, but like whatever. The answer to our question about the 2 of us and the lopsided conscious plenitude would appear to be similarly straightforward. Before factoring in the indexical beliefs we do not share, each of us think, if I came to know that LCP were true, then I would know that I'm a conscious entity that is either in the vicinity of heavy or in the vicinity of light, and that m over n plus 1 of those entities are in the vicinity of heavy, where m is the humongous number that is m1 is the ratio of conscious entities that are in the vicinity of heavy to conscious entities that are in the vicinity of light. Yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah. This is interesting. This is it's in some sense, this is like a sociology paper of like what you can do in philosophy if you're just very good at like putting together these arguments. He's a professor at Princeton and we are not, for what it's worth. Exactly. But I mean, whatever. Again, the ability to argue does not mean you argue for good things. Like, this is just a simple point of, politics, rhetoric, or whatever. Just because you can argue doesn't mean you're like a good philosopher. Doesn't mean, like, again, you can go argue on the internet with any number of people. I'm not saying this guy's good or bad at the moment. I'm just saying, look, he's very good at these arguments, though. So, yeah, so you would have no further evidence of whether I was in the vicinity of heavy or light. So by the Day-Say distribution principle, you should be that confident that you're in the vicinity of heavy, and the same with the vicinity of light. Similarly, if you came to know that LCP were false, then I should be half confident that you're in the vicinity of heavy and half confident in the vicinity of light. Yeah, because look, if you don't have any way to figure out what the case is, then you just assign it. This is called the principle of indifference. You assign everything equal possibilities. That's fine. So, Viper says, good philosophers are just dreams who can structure their hallucinations real crispy. That is fair. I mean, I will say that analytic philosophy has fetishized clarity. In the last, 20th century, it was like, oh, clarity. So this is what you mean by crispy. Like, they're making shit up and they're making it, like, clear. And it's an illusion. Like, clear doesn't mean anything. It just means, like, they mean technically precise. This is clearly technically precise, but it doesn't say anything worth knowing. So it's like, yes. And I think that's a fair criticism of analytic philosophy in general, and maybe which would include this sort of paper. It's clearly wrong. Because this is the thing. It's reducing the consciousness to some mereological thing that is like how you break down like holes into parts, which they're just the consciousness. You're saying, well, the consciousness is can be multiplied by how many parts it has, which does not seem to be the way consciousness works. So that's all it is. But yeah, okay. So by conditionalization, if P is the level of confidence in the lopsided consciousness plenitude that we both should have when considering just the philosophical arguments and our shared indexical beliefs, our levels of confidence in the four possibilities corresponding to the question, is LCP true? Am I in the vicinity of heavy or light? Should be. Okay, so you're lopsided. Again, you're breaking it down by this ridiculous thing where you're talking about how many molecules are in a bigger body versus a lighter body. And if not, you're just, putting it equal either way. So by conditionalization, again, when heavy adds and heavy's further piece of evidence, the belief that heavy would express I am in the vicinity of heavy, and light adds in further piece of evidence that belief would light, but I'm in the vicinity of light. Blah, blah, blah. Heavy's confidence should go from that number and light confidence should go to the other one. This means so long as P is not exactly 0 or 1, and who among us would have confidence or 1 in these theories, our levels of confidence should be different. Heavy should be more confident than light. No, I have no problem having an exactly 0 confidence in this theory. I like exactly 0. That's exactly my confidence in the theory, and I'm perfectly okay saying that because I think the theory is ridiculous. And so it is exactly 0. I do not just do the error theory like, might have some small non-trivial, like some small non-zero amount. No, it's wrong. Like, this is just a simple thing. It's a category mistake, and so the evidence is exactly 0 as far as I'm concerned. So it's like, yeah. Now, and why? But see, again, if you want to argue with David Builes and whoever his co-author is, Caspar Hare in this case, how is it you're going to do that? You have to give a good reasoning. Well, you have to be able to get them at the get-go, like I was saying earlier. You say, look, where I got them is we're finitely many material mereological simples, and then they apply that to consciousness, and you can say consciousness and material simples, that's not what does it. Like the author was saying, no, Ivan was saying, and other people in chat were saying, this is not what you get in it's not the pieces of the neural net that make it important. It's the the training or whatever. And like I'd go with the more metaphysical thing. Like, you can't break consciousness down into the physical pieces. We don't actually know that's how consciousness breaks down. So it doesn't make sense to even say that sort of thing. Yeah, Gier, boo, woo. I mean, again, if you have ever seen, I always shout him out when I bring this up, the rating system I have is based on, a mob rule it's based on a mob rule system where you get to ban people by chat voting on stuff. And so that's exactly where my rating system in part originated. But we'll get there. We only got a page, another page to go. Okay. So, and then heavy's confidence in the LCP after factoring in being in the vicinity of heavy should be approximately 2/3, and light confident after factoring in being in the vicinity of light should be approximately 0. Heavy should be fairly confident that LCP is true. Light should be almost certain that it is false. We have to vote this guy for the Ivan. Ivan says, I was wondering whether this would work as an argument against panpsychism, but I don't even think it gets that far. No, the panpsychists wouldn't, because you'd have to make some argument about how the individual cells have consciousness, but again you'd have to reduce the amount of consciousness per cell. So it's again, just being bigger doesn't mean you have more consciousness. It doesn't make sense. Can you make a Hall of Fame or shame? That's one of the things on the website. I want the lowest rated papers. I feel kind of bad about it, but you kind of have to have, sort by lowest, and then that'll be the Hall of Shame. Yeah. There's a Razzie trophy. When I made the website, that was one of the original things was this is top rated papers will have a, Hall of Fame. Bottom rated papers will, be, will I do something? I don't want to be in the business of telling people they suck. But it's going to be a feature on the site. Yeah, they presumably have composition rules just like neural nets. And that's the thing, Ivan. It's this is missing fundamental things. It's oversimplifying it. Yeah, philosophers. Exactly, Unreal Brian. This is not going I've really considered this and how dangerous do I want to get with telling people that they're terrible philosophers. But hey, it's just chat. It wasn't me, man. Chat hated your paper. Maybe they just don't understand mereology. Yeah. But again, like there was that guy who like found my review that was like the worst fucking paper. Yeah. Like like he shared it among his Facebook friends, and like, you know, people clicked on it. So I was very happy that the person was big enough to say, "Hey, look, this person hated my stuff." And but then I got a bunch of views out of it. So I probably got some follows out of it too. It's called democracy. Mob rule. Yes, exactly, Ann. Mob rule, democracy. All right. All right, so the probability should clearly not be 1/2. Though heavy is more massive than light, heavy is much less massive than the most massive human on Earth. Call him Mr. G. We don't know Mr. G's exact mass, but the conservative assumption that he weighs at least 1 gram more than his nearest rivals yields that he has at least 2 to the power of 10 times 10 to 10 to the 23rd times more parts than his nearest rival. With around 7 times 10 to the 9 people on Earth, that means Mr. G has at least huge amounts times as many parts as all other humans on Earth, another humongous multiple. And maybe you shouldn't vote? Me? Do you mean? Or, no, I can vote. I can vote. I mean, am I going to... My vote should count. So, yeah. Yeah, peer review. Well, see, this is one of the things. Every time I get rejected by analysis, which has happened a few times, I'm like... I've read the crap that has gotten past your reviewers. Like, I don't understand why you're rejecting my stuff. So it's like, yeah. But again, that makes me feel good because I'm like, they always say we reject a lot of good papers. It's like, it's true. And you let some crap through and it's like, all right, well, whatever. It's like, so yeah. Oh, I'm shorter and have a smaller cranium than you, so I'm less conscious. That's a good point, but again, everyone is allowed to, in chat, is allowed to vote, and I am also in chat, you know? Like, you see, I'm in chat. I can type crap. See? Everyone in chat can vote. And so I'm trying to be, you know, this is an open forum for discussing philosophy. Everyone's welcome. Although, yeah, what's it called? Low effort. I have a low effort thing. So I always forget I have this. I like this comment. Low effort comments are subject to removal and ban. This includes, but is not limited to, profane or vulgar statements made for their own sake and tedious trolling. Like this paper is, I find, this is tedious philosophy. Like there's no need for this crap. Okay. So it's safe to say that if LCP is true, and then the vast majority of conscious entities on Earth that are parts of humans are parts of G. And it follows that if all people should be, say, half confident in LCP in light of the philosophical arguments and our shared indexical beliefs, no, we should not be half confident in LCP. That's just false. We should be 0 confident in it. Then heavy and light's confidence should drop to approximately 0, when we factor in the further indexical belief that we would express as, I am not part of Mr. G. But pushing the argument further, even Mr. G should be close to a certain that LCP is false. Although Mr. G is more massive than any other human, he is still small next to the most massive conscious creature on Earth. Call her Big Bluey. By all the same reasoning as above, it is safe to say that if LCP is true, then the vast majority of conscious entities on Earth are part of Big Bluey. And it follows that if all conscious entities should be half confident in LCP when considering just the philosophical arguments in our shared indexical beliefs, then our confidence of all we humans should drop to approximately 0 when we factor in the indexical belief we would express as, I am not part of Big Blue. Yeah, I guess so if we're allowing whales to be conscious. The picture that has emerged is this. Somewhere out in the ocean there's a great whale. If she ever turns her thoughts away from krill, currents, and song to metaphysics, then maybe she should be very confident that the lopsided conscious plenitude is true. The rest of us should also be certain that it is false. But there are grades of almost certainty. Mr. G's near 0 confidence in LCP should be humongously many times greater than heavies, which should be humongously many times greater than lights, and so on. What to make of this argument? That's a good question. Why did you write this paper, authors? Like, really? Like, I wonder if they have anything really interesting to say here. There's one last page where they have a chance to redeem themselves to say something useful. Given that the conclusion of this argument is very surprising, should you take the argument to be a reductio of its premises? We think not, but we think there are independent reasons to reject the premises. Then why did you bother writing this argument, authors? We two authors part ways at this point. Light rejects conditionalization when the thing being conditioned upon is a piece of indexical information. Oh, so they get rid of like this other stuff down here. Like conditionalization, like that's not one of the 3 things up here, is it? No. Like, I rejected this stuff at the beginning, and they're saying, oh, no. They're rejecting some of the technicals. This is ridiculous. Well, I think it's ridiculous. So, light rejects conditionalization when the thing being conditioned upon is a piece of indexical information. I am near light. Author's got author. Yeah, conclusion. Ha, psych. Yeah, I wish. The other literature on self-locating belief, many philosophers have argued that conditionalization on indexical information is problematic for independent reasons. In particular, some philosophers have defended relevance-limiting thesis, according to which updating on merely indexical information should never change one's credences in non-indexical matters. That's fair. Like you say, like, I'm here now, has nothing to do with, whether it's raining outside or not. You shouldn't update on the way the world is based on things that are just referring to you in like an index. It is a consequence of relevance-limiting thesis that I am learning that I am in the vicinity of light, and learning no further non-indexical information should not affect my credence in LCP, which is a thesis about non-indexical matters. Although the relevance-limiting thesis is controversial, Light finds it to be plausible on wholly independent grounds. I mean, that makes sense. You don't say things in relation to you and then say, oh, and then that's the way the weather is. Like, it doesn't make sense. So Heavy accepts conditionalization in cases like this, but rejects the Day-Say distribution principle. On Heavy's view, asking who I am in cases of Day-Say ignorance when you don't know who you are, is equivalent to asking which conscious entity has or conscious entities have all and only these things as objects of direct awareness. But on Heavy's view, if LCP is true, then all of the many conscious entities that are part of Heavy have this very same objects of direct awareness, and all of the many conscious entities that are part of Light have the very same objects of direct awareness. So if LCP is true, then this is a bad question. What is the one conscious entity that has all and only these things as objects of direct awareness? There is a presupposition failure in the question. Many things have all and only these things as objects of direct awareness. A good question is, which conscious entities have all and only these objects of awareness? Yeah, because now they're taking all the different ones with just like one molecule difference. But good questions like this have just two possible answers. Maybe that the conscious entities with all and only these things as objects of awareness are all conscious parts of Heavy, or it may be they're all conscious parts of Light. The proper way to be indifferent is to spread confidence evenly between the two epistemic possibilities corresponding to the two possible answers to the question. We acknowledge that both these moves are controversial. Conditionalization and the Day-Say distribution principle do have much appeal. Really, they do? I mean, I guess this person's saying, look, you could split it between all the different possibilities. So you might think you're part of Heavy or you're part of Light, because those are the two main distinctions there. I can see why you'd go that way. You're just sort of grouping all the mereological sums together. If you wish to hang on to both of them, that's fine, but then you must accept you learn a great deal about metaphysics when you step on your bathroom scale. And that's it for this one. Let's give this a review. Now, all the review stuff you used earlier does not count. It only works when the screen is up, like right there. So now please get the reviews in. So this one is definitely navel gazing. So Nog navel, we're going to give this some Nog navels. We're going to give this, I mean, it's going to get a Nog knife because it is a little bit analytic. It's going to get Nog grapes. I think that's a good one to put. And also, it's going to get the golden turd too. Nog turd. Nog tea. Nog tea. So this is vote nay. We're going to give it multiple vote nays. So this is going to be one of the lowest rated papers. And this is why people don't like philosophy, is when stuff like this comes out. Because no wonder there's no money in academia. Yeah, like I said, this guy is a professor at Princeton, so the thing. So this is going to be one of our lowest rated papers, and this is why people don't like metaphysics and mereology, because if you're going to just say, okay, consciousness, but then you're going to break it down by molecule, you're missing the point. And you don't need to be on my side of the world where you don't like, I don't take the like simple materialist. Even the materialists we have in chat are like, this is missing the point. It's not molecules that make things smart. It's the training, the development of their neural nets. That's what's doing the work. And so when you're multiplying entities by the physical underlying substratum, that's missing the point of what's actually, it's a vote nay. cinesemiotics, but it's fine. Yeah, it's like I don't have a localized Nagne thing. Maybe I should. I'm thinking of it. Thank you for fixing it though. Saves me from fixing it. So yeah, it's like this has just made a category mistake on the way we define consciousness. No one defines consciousness as the related to the particular entities that are in the physical substrate. You have a right to write on this ballot. You do. If you ever want to actually have a note included, it gets saved if you use one of those one of those emotes and then write something next to it. That actually will, the whole comment gets saved. You're writing this, okay. Well, you have to use one of my Black Lives Matter. That's true. Like but like you have to use one of the recorded emotes, and then your comment will get saved. Otherwise, I don't save your comments. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything like, this is just so weird. Why would anyone think that consciousness reduces to like physical pieces? You suck, go to work at Best Buy. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, DCI. Oh. Yeah. Well, thank you all for doing the ratings. I appreciate it. Sometimes I know it's these are a slog. Thank you for the bits.
Oh, thank you very much.
I got to thank you. Hey, the alerts worked. I gotta fix the alerts for the overlay though. Yeah. For fuck's sake, yeah. Well, it was underneath the review active screen. But yeah. He's probably getting paid more. Hey, Maddie, how you doing? I don't know who these folks actually are. I mean, David's got he's an assistant professor at Princeton, and Caspar is, yeah, he's a full professor. It says at MIT. Yeah. Laurel, yeah, well, that's fair. Like, this is why we do this. This is one of the whole points. Like, you get to see what is going on in philosophy and is it worth something. And if you're gonna get angry about it, like, good. Like, you found out that it was bad and you didn't like it, and you can know why. Yeah, let's pretend we know zero about consciousness. That's the problem here. The metaphysics is really strange. They are just saying consciousness is inherently dependent on like the mereology, the way you can combine the underlying pieces, which is just like not true. And so it's like no one actually ever thought that. So if you start off with something that no one ever actually thought, yes, you're going to get a weird result, but like there's nothing interesting there anyway.